something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear.
It's a tangled economic web being weaved in Washington as fear about the economy has become the excuse for a developing swindle of historic proportions. Congress just rushed through the housing bill, which should have been called the hosing bill, since it could cost U.S. taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. And according to a prominent economist, the next crisis looming, which is intimately connected to the housing calamity, may be the inability to pay hundreds of billions of dollars in pensions to state and local employees. Welcome to Collateral.
It may not seem important to you, but it is important.
What?
Yes, and it's your privilege. Not just your duty, but your privilege to help your government by paying your tax and paying it promptly.
Oh, what's the big hurry?
David, there's an assumption in your question that is not necessarily correct. It's sort of a democratic liberal assumption. I need money, I raise taxes.
Then what are you going to cut, sir? What do you cut?
Wait. Let me explain it for a second. The way to do it sometimes is to reduce taxes and raise more money.
The esteemed economist Michael Hudson has weighed in on the housing bill, and his assessment of it squares with those who see it as a flat giveaway to mortgage houses and banks. Its purpose is to keep home prices artificially high in order to protect the collateral valuations for the loans that were packaged and sold to a variety of holders including international banks and pension funds. Essentially, these companies made big bets in the bundled mortgage securities market and lost. But with the bailout, they won't come out the losers they should be. It's blatant theft from you and me, and no one in Washington's raising a peep about it. Now, the fair remedy would be to let housing prices fall to their proper level and let new buyers come in at fair valuations. That's what a capitalist remedy would be. But it's funny how when that process is going to hurt the big boys, politicians in Washington are happy to shun capitalism and socialize their losses. The linkages are quite complex, but as Hudson shows, bailing out mortgage lenders, as the housing bill does, comes at the expense of state and local property tax revenues. Money that's being used to pay mortgage interest to the financial sector could be going in the form of property tax revenue to communities. And if it were going to communities in the form of property tax revenue, it could be used to fund, say, pension funds. Hudson points out that by buying into the anti-tax ideology favored by conservatives, state and local governments have been forced to finance their budgets by borrowing, issuing bonds, instead of the surer approach of taxing the rich.
And the facts are that we had 52 months of uninterrupted job growth, the longest in the history of the United States. And I know you believe, and I firmly believe, that those tax cuts are part of that engine for that economic vitality. And the economy is not doing as well as we'd like it to do today. But there's no question that the tax cuts provided economic vitality.
Now, with their debt skyrocketing and their revenue streams diminished, communities can't pay their pension and health care obligations. And here's the rub. Public pensions aren't insured, and a lot of these pension funds are heavily invested in bad paper. Basically, Hudson's saying we fucked up. Instead of paying for basic human needs the way less capitalistic countries do, by taxing people who profited from the system who could afford to pay them, we succumb to the financial sector's anti-tax ideology. You can't have it both ways for very long. Either the successful, including successful businesses, pay more in taxes to the state so that the state can take care of its obligations to people, or businesses pay more wages to people so that they can take care of themselves. There is a way out, says Hudson, but it requires returning to the time-honored logic of taxing predatory wealth. And just what politician in Washington do you think is going to have the guts to call for fresh taxes?
And now the question is, what will the Congress do? Given the facts that tax cuts have worked, what will be the congressional response? Our response is, let's make those tax cuts permanent.
As Hudson notes, most politicians see their true constituency to be Wall Street, not you and me. So if there's a pension fund bailout, it's likely to follow along the lines of the housing bailout, which means the nation's debt could be thrown from the realm of the ridiculous right into the sublime. In other words, we get stolen from again. Hope to see you next week.
Stop. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Hey, what'd you you get? Oh, I shot me a motorcycle. I got me a tractor. Well, I wounded me the biggest cement truck you ever saw.